The chip maker, Nvidia, has become the first ever company to reach a market value of $5 trillion, reflecting investors' confidence in the future of artificial intelligence. The tech giant stock has been boosted by strong sales and a recent flurry of deals, including with the telecoms firm Nokia. Shares have also risen at the prospect of greater access to China. President Trump has said he plans to discuss Nvidia's Blackwell AI chip with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping when they meet on Thursday. Well, let's speak to our North America business correspondent, Erin Delmore, who joins us now. Erin, what's the state of play then with Nvidia, and what do you think we can expect from those talks between President Xi and President Trump tomorrow?
Certainly a huge headline just after the opening bell in New York here this morning. The California-based firm is the first company in the world to cross that $5 trillion valuation mark. And we saw shares pop on this morning's opening bell at 9:30 today. They went up about 4%, and right now they're trading a bit lower, around 2.75% up, give or take, off of yesterday. Look, it's a bit of a Cinderella story for this stock. I mean, gosh, it's been up more than 50% year to date. And there are some really big developments that show why that's been lately. You know, Jensen Huang, who's the CEO, said that he expected $500 billion in chip sales coming in. And he also said that Nvidia would create 7 supercomputers for the U.S. government. And like you mentioned, there's that deal with Nokia, where Nvidia will be pouring $1 billion into that company to try to develop 6G cellular technology. But as you also mentioned, a lot of eyes are on whether we could see more of Nvidia's chips flowing across U.S. borders, and particularly to the market in China. It's been a big sticking point in this ongoing U.S.-China trade war. It's sure to come up in conversation between Presidents Trump and Xi tomorrow, but we don't know if they'll be able to make any progress, and even if they do reach an agreement in words, whether we'll actually see something come to fruition.
OK, I suppose the other thing that markets especially will be keeping an eye on is the interest rate decision from the Federal Reserve, the U.S. central bank. Widely expected that there will be a cut in the main interest rate. What's the sense there? What's the feeling? And what effect could that have if we get confirmation of that later today?
As you said, that's a pretty consensus opinion at the moment, that we'll see a quarter-point percentage cut. But at the same time, it's less about where we are at this moment and more about where we're heading. You know, there's a big question about whether we'll see another rate cut coming up at the next meeting, which is at the end of this year, whether we'll see that pathway continue. We're looking at the dot plot today, which is a summary of economic projections, to see whether FOMC members differ and how they think the U.S. should be moving forward, especially when it comes to the path of interest rate cuts. And we're all going to be eyes on Chair Jerome Powell when he talks about the state of the economy, especially the softening that we're seeing in the job market, persistent inflation, whether he says that he thinks tariffs are a one-time jump in prices or whether he expects that to pass through for longer. You know, all of these things are really tied together, and the cost of borrowing is just one element in the economic health of the U.S. So we'll be watching for signs on where we're going without too much input. Certainly the 29-day U.S. government shutdown means that the Fed just doesn't have its regular amount of data to be going on to make these kind of decisions.
What a tough position to be in. Erin, thank you very much for the update. Erin Delmore there for us in New York.